Jai Sri Krishna. And today I'm going to tell you about my friend who plays bridge with me. These interviews that I'm doing on the power of the feminine, what I am trying to prove and say that people survive. People survive difficulties. People, and especially now since I'm talking about women survive. And they survive their difficult times, their difficult periods where they don't know where to move, where the door is closed and suddenly doors open again. But what I'm really looking for is what makes them tick, what makes them go on, what makes them move on. And that is what I'm really trying to capture. So let's meet Gunjan. And this is what she says. She says, courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it, which is said by Nelson Mandela. So we all are afraid. But to triumph over that fear and to move on is what is courage. So courage is not to be afraid, but to move on. Now look what happened to Gunjan at the age of 38 years, I think she says. She was, the only thing she had to think of that Sunday morning, her biggest problem what was she going to wear for the evening formal dinner in the Navy mess. Her husband was in the Navy. But suddenly fate willed it otherwise. And at that same morning, her husband, 43 years old, succumbed to his first attack, and Gunjan was left with two small girls, no house, and not much money. It took Gunjan 10 years to put her life together again, but she put her faith in God. And she hunkered down to beat the odds. She bought a small house place in Andheri. She quit her teaching job for a managerial position in an international shipping agency. And over the next 10 years, she educated her girls and got them settled. And Gunjan worked her way up the corporate ladder to the position of general manager. And by that time, she also moved homes to a bigger and nicer locality. Now, when I talk of being settled, in today's world, settled means either the girls were on their own feet or they got married and they kind of moved on with life. They were settled. Settled now doesn't necessarily always mean marriage, which is I want to point out to you. And now that Gunjan is in her sunset years, she often thinks about where did she get the courage to deal with life's blows. What was her driving force? Now, one thing that she also says and believes in is that the Lord shapes the back to bear the burdens placed upon it. So that means that God never gives you more than you can bear. He shapes the back so that you can bear the burden placed upon it. But what is it that made her move? And the first thought that came to her mind when I asked her this question is that her main worry was that she did not want to become the object of pity. That is the first thought that came to her mind, and I was impressed because most people talk about big things, but she said, no, I did not want to be the object of pity. And then there were two who looked after her. One was God, and one was God's representative on earth, which was her father. He stood by her through all her travails, providing wise counsel and unstinting support. And somehow she did not want to hear the word poor thing, because she knew that whenever she were to meet her partner in a husband in the other life, he would not have liked her to wallow in self pity. Because, as her husband often said, whatever it is, pitying yourself will not solve it. And she remembered this and she moved on. Now she says, I think she says tongue in cheek and with a smile on her face, that the one regret that I have is that I was so busy trying to fulfill my duties, I had no time to let the gentler side of me grow. She feels that she has become, over the years, too self-confident and practical. But in my mind, it is a nice thing. And if you look at her smile and her twinkling eyes, you may not believe exactly what she says, because she is loving. And then she ends her talk with me by saying, but I thank God to have given me in my post-work world bridge. And then she says, Shakun. Because today she plays bridge and she is doing tournaments and keeping so many people busy and happy playing bridge during this COVID days. And she says that she's thanking God to bring to her world bridge and shakun. And she says one is to nurture the brain, obviously that must be bridge, and she says the other the soul. That is such a sweet thing to say, Gunjan. And I thank you very much for this little talk you have with me. And yes, I'm looking at women in their everyday life who survive against all odds and keep shining. So until we meet again with another personality or whatever it is that I do on YouTube, you all take care. God bless. Keep smiling. Yeah? Thank you, Gunjan. Thank you again.